Makati. I'm an HRM student, but at the same time, I work as an event organizer.
Can you talk about your company where you work?
I work in an event organizer in Primavera. Primavera is an event management company. We conduct events, different kinds of events, such as debut, baptismal, wedding. We also conduct business or corporate events.
So let's focus on the wedding. What made you want to be a wedding organizer?
Wedding. Um, Among the events that we're doing in Primavera, weddings are usually my favorite event because weddings are social event. But at the same time, it is the most not really difficult, but it has a lot of process from the preparation to the pre-wedding to the wedding ceremony itself, and then to the reception. So let's go to the preparation. From the preparation, of course, we start in the hotel, the bride's room and the groom's room. We prepare their things and everything, such as the gowns and what they need. And we also do prenup during the preparation for the couple, so that they will have a memory of their wedding itself. After that, some of us, because our team, Primavera, we are a team, and some of us will stay in the hotel and some will go straight to the church. Let's say church, if it's a ceremony. Some of us will go to the ceremony to prepare the wedding ceremony. And in the wedding ceremony, we prepare those necessary things like the missilet, the speakers for the ceremony, and the readers for the ceremony itself. Then that's basically it. And the process of the after the preparation, it will be the ceremony, and then after will be the reception.
So what do you usually do in the ceremony? Like, what's your role?
Our role is actually is to monitor and to make sure that the flow of the program, the ceremony is sunod-sunod. I think it's sunod-sunod.
Well, like, when it comes to logistics, like, do you manage those things?
Logistics of, sorry, what?
Logistics, like, yung mga
Ano yun?
logistics.
Nasabi mo na kanina yun eh.
Inventory pala.
Inventory. What do you mean? Like,
Pag
gamit?
nag-order, oh.
When we organize. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to share that before we start an event, of course, we conduct a meeting, like our team's meeting, and then do the inventory of all the things that we need, that we would be needing, like the timeline. Each and every one of us in our team have our own timeline to follow, and then we also have those things that are needed, like the bags or tissue box, the pins for the bride and everything, and like also the missilet, like I mentioned a while ago. All those things are already listed in our checklist. We also have a checklist. That's why we ensure that everything is organized.
So how about the scheduling?
Schedule of the
Event, the flow? Like, how do you schedule it? Like, now you're going to do the prenup, now you're going to do the...
that's where the timeline comes in. That's why we have this document, which we call the timeline, which is divided into different time. Like we have, for example, on top of it, we have the checklist. Of course, because the first thing we have to do is make sure that we have the things, right? In order for the program to flow properly. And then we have the pre-preparation, like what do we need to bring, to this place, to the venue, to the hotel, and then the preparation, and then the pre-wedding, and then the wedding ceremony, and then preparation for the reception, and then reception. So weddings is actually kind of there's a lot of process, but it's fun. So to answer your question, that's basically how we organize or how we manage to schedule our time with the help and the use of our timeline.
When it comes to your team, right? Like, how do you coordinate with your team members? Because I'm sure one of them will be running in one place, the other is running in the other.
Yes, that's true. Basically, we have our phones, but at first we had our phones, but we found it hard to like communicate because sometimes we conduct weddings or events in a place where there is a very low or poor signal. So we bought this radio, we call that thing radio. So we can communicate to each other easily. Just press the button and then we can talk to each other. But then, for example, if I'm still at the hotel and my other teammate is already going to the church, that's the time we will use our phone. That's how we communicate.
Because they say that the weddings are like the most memorable thing that can happen
Yes.
in someone's life.
Well, that's like what I mentioned a while ago that every event or like especially for a wedding, before we start the wedding itself, we have to meet the client several times and to ask the client what does she really wants. Because usually what the brides want is the one that we will follow. We have a lot of clients like that. Like the groom doesn't know anything. Like, okay, I'm just getting married tomorrow. She knows everything. Then they will just depend on us and ask us, oh, what I'm going to do. And that's where we tell them to ensure them that you have to do this, you have to do that. But if you want to do this, you can do this. That's where we exchange thoughts and ideas and everything. That's how we ensure that we would deliver what the client would want.
Can you describe the most challenging wedding you planned and how you handled the problems that came up?
Recently. Because actually I've already conducted a lot of weddings. And there's, what they say, each and everyone's, what they call a wedding disaster. So they're different. But I would want to share my recent wedding, not my wedding, but my cousin's wedding that I coordinated, that I organized. It was actually okay. The wedding itself was okay, but then the problem that I encountered was that I wasn't really hired. What do you call this? I wasn't really hired officially. Like, she just asked me to do stuff, and then as an event organizer, I was the one who initiated that to ask her things. If she have this, she have that. If I didn't ask her, she would forget or neglect all those things. In short, she underestimated the fact of hiring an event organizer. And the disaster there was that there was this time, actually I just did all the stuff that we have to do, like the timeline and the checklist and everything. Everything was fine, but I forgot to do one thing. That one thing is to brief the speech of the father, which is really not necessary. But for me, I guess it was, or I was supposed to do that because she was my cousin and their family. And I know that my cousin is really not that close with his father. that's why when it came to the event itself, um, I consider that as a disaster because the bride cried, my cousin cried, and then everybody thought it was she was crying in like tears of joy, but she wasn't. I don't know how I felt it, but I just felt that she was crying because she was embarrassed with what her father was saying. But what her father was saying was actually okay, but then it was negative, but then he meant a different way. Do you get it? So I consider that as a wedding disaster. I mean, I consider that as a problem that it's inevitable. I mean, but for me, like, I could have avoided that if I briefed his speech, my uncle's speech. So that's just it.
How about for the other weddings? Any disasters?
Um, for the other weddings, some disasters just come like the simple things. Like for example, there is a fireworks, and then you forgot to you light it up, and then it doesn't light up immediately. So there's like a delay. So tendency there will be a very short like dead air or something like that, and other stuff that like we forgot to because details are important. If we forget one detail, then we call that as a problem or a disaster already because you know um, we're there. We are hired to organize the stuff, to coordinate with everybody so that they will have the best day of their life. But that's just we as an event organizer, we have to be very careful and be um, proactive with what we're doing.
So how did you cope up with those disasters? Like, what do you do? Just say sorry to fix it.
Well, like
I
what
mean, the things that are possible to fix, like how would you get?
yeah, like what I said a while ago, there is always a different kind of what they call a wedding disaster, but it doesn't happen. I mean, it doesn't have to happen all the time. That's why event organizers are hired, right? That's why. But there are also circumstances that are inevitable. So, in order for us to avoid those stuff, we just have to follow the timeline itself and make sure and double check our checklist and everything. And what we do after committing the mistake, of course, after the event, we would apologize because we also have the chance to talk to the clients after. But fortunately, we always say that it's really successful for them, but they don't know that for us, we know that there's a slight problem and everything. But in their eyes, everything was fine. But still, we still apologize and yeah.
Okay. Is there any way na din differentiate niyo yung service niyo from other event organizers? Like, kunwari yung iba, di ba, yung pinanood namin dati, meron silang playground for children para yung parents makaka party. Sa inyo ba, nag-organize ba kayo ng gano'n? Or din-differentiate niyo ba yung service niyo from other
From other event organizers. Actually, we don't.
Ay, normal lang.
We just talk to the client. If whatever the client wants, we follow them and innovate them. And in a way, like we would add ideas. If ever they would want that ideas, then we would implement them. What's the best thing of being an event organizer? That's a tough question. Actually, I've been an event organizer for just only a year, but I have conducted a lot of events already. And the best thing of being an event organizer, I can say, is that we we are not there in an event to be an audience. We are silent workers that spend our time. We spend our time and our effort and our, our physically and mentally, we drain ourselves to bring our clients' dream come true. And I think that's what's best of as being an event organizer, because after we conduct events, what the client's reactions is really very fulfilling. I mean, hearing those things that we made their dreams come true, we made their vision come into reality. It's really, nakakataba ng puso.
So to wrap it up, what advice can you give to the future wedding or any event organizers? Any advice?
The best advice to the people who wants to be an event organizer, and the best advice I can give is to myself, is to always be happy and genuinely happy, and also to put everything to do everything through love. I mean, you have to use your heart, not just your brain, right? So always think, what if this is your event? I mean, for example, what if this is my wedding? What would I want for my own wedding? What if this is my business conference? What would I want my boss or investors want to see, right? So that's just it. You have to put yourself in the shoes of your client.
Thank you.